Tornadoes are nature's monsters. They drop from the clouds without warning, sweep across the earth, and then, minutes later, they vanish. They are perverse, unpredictable, and for those trapped in their path, they can turn into lethal nightmares.
Okay, Bono.
They are nature's most terrifying spectacle.
Get away from the windows! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Where's everybody?
Whirling up to 300 miles an hour, tornadoes pack the fastest winds on the planet.
It's the closest thing to a true monster that exists out there. They form out of thin air, they wreak havoc, death, injury, damage, and then they disappear.
On May 22, 1987, a tornado dropped out of the sky over the small farming town of Zaragoza, Texas.
Today, authorities said the death toll will be at least 29 people, 6 of them children. The storm was so ferocious that some of those who survived still cannot believe that it really happened.
The tornado was nearly a half-mile wide when it touched down around 8 p.m. near Our Lady of Guadalupe Church Hall, where more than 100 people were attending a Head Start graduation program.
And all of a sudden we had a parent come in, run in there and grab his little kid from the stage, and he yelled, tornado, or there's a tornado coming or something.
Almost 10 years later, the memories of that tornado are still vivid for Ilya Estrada.
We could hear all kinds of noises, rumbling noise, the wind blowing, the windows shattered, the walls started cracking. I was just concentrating on that wall coming down on me, but it was falling real slow, it seemed like. It was just coming real slow down on me. But what I was thinking is, how far is it going to come down? I mean, what am I going to do after it gets all the way down to me? I had my hand up here like this, just kind of touching the wall as it was coming down. And I got within maybe this far from when it stopped.
Underneath Ilya Estrada, 2 children she had seen wandering around the middle of the church hall just before the tornado struck.
I asked the mother if I could take the 2 little girls and have them stand against the wall with me. She let me have them, and she wandered off. I don't know where she ended up at. We never did see her again, but the 2 little girls were safe with me, and unfortunately, we lost her, the mother.
The tornado left nothing and no one untouched in Zaragoza.
But I was asleep, and then it started hailing and rain, and then my mom went to the kitchen, and she said there's a tornado coming down, so that's when it hit. And
there were a lot of rocks coming and dirt and everything, just hitting us.
Anita Gallego and her family survived by hiding under a bridge.
Well, I feel very lucky because my children are alive, because I couldn't find them. I was crying and looking for them because I couldn't find my children. I thought they were dead.
And I just put my truck in the barn to kind of protect it from hail. When it was all over, I didn't have no barn left. I was still sitting there in the truck.
The pictures tell of a storm of unimaginable ferocity. Zaragoza, Texas, destroyed almost beyond exaggerated words.
We're trying to see if we can find anything because there's nothing left.
Every spring, the West Texas sky boils with more killer tornadoes than any other state. But around Zaragoza, there's never been one this bad. So many dead, so many injured, all rushed to hospitals in one night.
First, we thought maybe like 25. And when the first 11 arrived, we got a call from the ambulance saying there's 30 more on the way. And then when they arrived, they said there's 30 more on the way.
Enrique Avalos was inside a house when a crumbling wall split his head open. He still managed to save 2 people from the wreckage. It was unforgettable, he says. It will stay with me my whole life.
It looked like something just went through and just flattened it. It just complete rubble and nothing left standing.
The tornado was so powerful it snapped 100 utility poles. It hurled cars and trucks and trailers as much as 900 feet from where they'd been parked.
It was just a total disaster. The whole town was flattened. Those cars were on the highway itself. We were like 100 yards off the highway, upside down. It was livestock, people were literally pulled from their mobile homes, their residents laying on the roadway. The whole town was demolished.
Worst hit, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church Hall. For those inside the hall, it all seemed to happen so quickly.
there was silence. After it was all over, you could hear with just a few seconds of silence. And then all of a sudden, people started screaming and calling for help. When I heard that silence, I thought I was the only one alive. You know, 'cause I was in the rubble with two little girls, and I could not see around me anything else. So I could not see whether anybody else was safe or alive, or what had happened to them. When I came out of there, the first person I saw was my husband. He was a deputy sheriff, and I just ran to him. I told him there's all kinds of people trapped.
I knew that my dad was supposed to have delivered that address for that little commencement exercise.
Rudy Martinez rushed to the church hall to look for his father.
By the time I got here, maybe about 4 or 5 bodies had been pulled out of the wreckage of the building. That was probably one of the hardest things I had to do is lifting the covers of those deceased people.
Hundreds of volunteers worked through the night searching for signs of life. There were few.
I hope all of them is accounted for, and I hope we don't find any more. And we're searching around, hoping that we'll find them alive, the ones that are alive, to get them out.
The death toll in Zaragoza eventually reached 30, including one man who was killed trying to outrun the storm in a car.
My wife and my son were right beside me when it happened.
Joey Herrera was in Our Lady of Guadalupe's church hall.
The way the walls collapsed, there wasn't really much a chance for individuals to survive due to the fact that it was pretty much flattened. My wife and my son were basically in my arms, and for some reason or another, there was ample room where I was at where I really didn't, I really wasn't hurt that bad.
But Joey's wife and son were killed.
My son would have been a year old a couple of days after. My wife was only 25 at the time.
In a cemetery less than a mile from where a tornado destroyed the homes of 200 people last Friday, 2,000 came today to pray and bury their dead.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth.
16 people were buried in Zaragoza, Texas today. A mother with her daughter, 2 sisters together. The parents and children of a dusty West Texas town no one noticed until now.
We bid farewell to men and women who loved their family and would give their life for their children.
The Bishop of El Paso offered the mourners the example of Lazarus in the New Testament. He said their loved ones in this town would be resurrected.
Well, all of us are here, of course, in sorrow. We're here to try to help and to console.
The remnants of what once was are everywhere. Levoria Lopez sifts through the rubble of her son's house. He is still in the hospital, one of more than 120 people injured.
Many who lost everything but their lives were migrant workers with little to begin with. Insurance was something few could afford. And across Texas today, appeals were made for food, clothing, and cash contributions.
At churches throughout Texas, people offered prayers and donations. Volunteers in Zaragoza are swamped with food and clothing. Many people are responding to this tragedy.
Is this yours?
These students traveled here from New Mexico to do what they could.
We can get quite a few records out of this top file.
School workers are hoping to salvage records and photographs of students. 6 children are among the dead.
It's amazing the awesome power of nature can do in 10 seconds.
10 seconds that ended many lifetimes and left those who lost everything with a new perspective.
I feel pretty lucky. I've got a lot of neighbors that have lost a lot of things you can't replace. You can't replace a person's life, and there's neighbors all around me that lost a lot of their family.
In Zaragoza, bulldozers run back and forth where children did last week. Rebuilding this poor, tortured town will be tough. Once plentiful jobs in oil and agriculture are gone, and so may be the hope for the future. Despite state and federal promises to help, many in this town are so poor they won't even be able to repay cheap government disaster loans. Yet somehow, people like store owner Jose Candelas can think of nothing but rebuilding.
We try again to rebuild. I hope, I wish with my heart that all the people stay here with me and I with them.
While the tornado that struck Zaragoza was a surprise, it was no surprise that it struck in that part of the country.
More twisters skip across America than any other country on Earth, between 800 and 1,000 every year. Most develop in what's known as Tornado Alley, from here in Texas upwards through the Midwest, many packing an energy equivalent to a small atomic bomb.
Meteorologists call it Tornado Alley because nowhere else on Earth are conditions so ripe for the development of tornadoes.
Warm, moist air from the Gulf combined with upper storm systems tend to make the air unstable and want to rise. And when we have this happening along with winds that tend to turn as we go up in the atmosphere, the storms begin to rotate. And storms that are very unstable that begin to rotate can produce tornadoes.
That rotation produces a funnel that acts like a vacuum cleaner or a bathroom drain.
When you take a bath and you pull the plug out of the bottom, out of the drain, and the water swirls down the drain, and you actually see a little funnel forming. It's the same concept with a tornado, but instead of water, it's air, and that air is moving upward at about 100 miles an hour. To get a tornado, you need a violent updraft within a thunderhead, a spinning thunderhead that can sustain that updraft for several hours. If this upward motion is strong enough, you can produce the twisting winds associated with a tornado.
By all accounts, it was one of the worst series of tornadoes on record. On the morning of April 3rd, 1974, 148 tornadoes struck the Midwest and the South. Over the next 18 hours, they stalked through the countryside, smashing homes and businesses, destroying lives.
In Kentucky, where at least 77 people have been killed, the storm cut a half-mile wide path 30 miles long and devastated the town.
The Huntsville area accounted for over half of Alabama's more than 70 tornado deaths.
More than 50 people were killed in Indiana, the worst tornado disaster since Palm Sunday, 1965.
The tornadoes touched down in more than 11 states.
You could see it coming. Actually, there was a big one and a small one. You could see it just come right down through the town.
What did you do?
Ran.
These nuns saw the funnel coming and headed for the basement.
We were all huddled in the corner, and we all made it, thank God.
Not just one, but 3 tornadoes touched down outside Xenia on the afternoon of April 3rd.
It came to Xenia, Ohio, out of the southwest, as always, roaring like a railroad train, touching down first in attractive new homes, then tearing into the older part of the city, visiting almost total destruction along a path 4.5 miles long and almost a mile wide.
Top winds reached more than 260 miles an hour. The tornadoes touched down at 4:40 p.m., obliterating much of the town in just 2.5 terrible minutes.
Xenia was caught by surprise, the series of killer tornadoes devastating the city late in the afternoon. The death toll climbed throughout the night, and injuries number in the hundreds.
Radio and television stations broadcast tornado warnings just minutes before the storm struck.
By that time, if you hadn't taken refuge, you were in danger of losing your life. Mrs. Howard Johnston happened to have her television on.
I was in the bedroom, which is practically gone, where the chimney fell, and there was nothing left of the room, so I was very lucky to have gone downstairs. I wouldn't have been here to tell it. We're just lucky to be alive. That's the main thing.
Tornadoes can't be diverted. The whim of nature sets them on their own courses. But people will get out of their way if they know when and where to go. The complaint in Xenia is that the warning reached too few, too late.
The storm's fury is evident throughout Xenia. In the central business district, damage is extensive. In other areas, there is equal devastation. Cars overturned, trees uprooted, railroad cars derailed, telephone and electrical service disrupted for much of the night. The city's high school, where students practiced dance, was leveled by the explosive storm.
I was working up on the second floor there, about 18:20 to 5. And I looked out the window and I saw the tornado coming. So I dropped everything. I knew there's kids. And I run down and hollered, there's a tornado coming.
School custodian Buford Mash's warning gave the students, members of the school drama club, just enough time to flee the auditorium. Moments later, the twister picked up a school bus in the parking lot and dumped it on the stage where the students had been rehearsing. In 4 minutes, 6 schools and 12 churches were destroyed.
Hours after the storm cleared, police and volunteers from surrounding areas began the search for dead and injured. The Red Cross issued a call for food, clothing, and blood. First aid centers were set up for the injured. Victims requiring extensive treatment were transported to area hospitals. Nearby Wright-Patterson Air Force Base activated its entire hospital staff to care for storm victims. The city was placed under a dusk-to-dawn curfew last night to curb some minor looting. The threat of more tornadoes kept Xenia under storm watch throughout the early morning hours.
The search for victims continued for days.
Today, the living were still looking for the dead and remembering through their shock what happened. As cleanup operations began, some sat in the wreckage, numbed by the enormity of their tragedy.
We tried to get to the basement, but we didn't get, the cellar door was there, and we couldn't get it open, and so we went in the bathroom, and all 4 walls held up, and we made it. But I don't know.
Here and there, patches of green lawn were visible through the wreckage. Rows of building timbers, regimented by the wind, stretched out toward the northeast.
I got up and come in this, I have my bedroom there, and I come in the back, or come in the front room there, and I sat down on the bed in the far corner and sat there and just prayed to God that we'd be saved.
Your prayers were answered?
I guess they was. I just prayed and prayed.
35 people are known dead, more than 350 were injured. Officials estimate that nearly half of Xenia was destroyed.
Within days, emergency aid began pouring in from the state and federal governments. President Nixon flew in to inspect the damage.
From the air, the president observed a 3-mile-long strip of destruction cut through the heart of Xenia, which left over 30 dead, 3,000 homeless, and damage estimated at over $100 million. After putting down in a junior high school field, the president went directly to a meeting of local and state emergency aid officials. Along the way, he got an even closer look at storm damage. The president promised the local officials the federal government will do all in its present power to assist the stricken city and will ask Congress to grant additional emergency aid.
People here needs all the help they can get.
Hundreds of storm victims greeted the president at a federal emergency assistance center. Mr. Nixon brought them words of encouragement.
Right. Hi. How are you? Are you doing all right?
We're struggling.
You said you were wiped out?
Right. I'm at Wilberforce, Ohio.
Oh yeah, Wilberforce. Yes, I know. I flew right over.
Wiped out.
Right.
Right.
Well, but you feel all right.
Yes.
You're going to come back. You're going to
come back.
Stick out.
We'll make it.
Stick it. You'll make it. Good. Good. That's what we like to hear.
The president spent nearly 2 hours in the shattered city. Some of the people said, at the very least, he had brought them hope.
There was no presidential visit 20 years later, after a string of tornadoes decimated several southern states on Palm Sunday in 1994, killing 36 people. Hardest hit was the town of Piedmont, Alabama.
There may be people all over the place. The rescue squads and all the units there are looking around the area. I think the National Guard is out searching around. We want to find out if there's anybody else hurt and try to get them help.
This is the worst disaster I've seen in our county. It's a tragic thing during worship service, and we have 17 fatalities, 80 to 90 injuries.
All that was left of the church was just the front of the church, the front entrance, and I was standing there trying to keep the people back. As they brought the bodies out, my blood turned to ice. It was the most chilling thing.
The tornado struck in the middle of Goshen United Methodist Church's 11 o'clock worship service, caving in the roof during a children's Palm Sunday pageant.
The lights flashed, we were losing power, and we were just thinking about that. Then the rain started coming down.
The Reverend Kelly Clem was sitting in the first row when the tornado struck.
We all looked at each other like, well, that's a hard rain. Then the hail started coming. And then we looked at each other like, okay, that's bad. And then a window broke out somewhere over there, big window. and somebody yelled, or everybody yelled, I don't know what, hit the floor. We all went under the pews, and people were screaming, kids were getting crazy, and there were people buried who needed to be pulled up.
It was a desperate time.
We're just pulling up bricks, and trying not to throw them on somebody else, and trying not to step on somebody.
Among the people she was looking for was her 4-year-old daughter.
And I'm trying to get to my child and trying to help people along the way too, and I don't know if I'm stepping on somebody or what, and it was chaos. The kids were on the left side and the adults were on the right side, and so we were trying to get to them.
When did you get to your little girl?
It wasn't too long. I was maybe about 6 feet from her. I couldn't find her because she was buried. I think I saw her little pink tights or something, and I saw something I knew was her, and I said, "Get my hand, get my hand!" And I just screamed for everybody to help me get her out, and they helped, and she was one of the first to be taken, and she didn't look like she was breathing, but we didn't know.
The Reverend's 2-year-old daughter Sarah survived, but 4-year-old Hannah was crushed to death beneath a pew.
And we had a wonderful life with Hannah, and she taught us a lot about life and joy. She was full of life, and I learned a lot about love from her and my kids, and I expect I'll learn a lot through her death too.
Yeah, we're not sorry she came into the world, not a bit. We're gonna miss her a lot. But like Dale said, our lives are better because of her life, and that'll always be with us.
All day long, survivors came, some just to look, others trying to salvage something from the rubble. Franklin Woods searched for the offering plates and church records. Mansell Johnson looked for his wife's eyeglasses. She's recovering in a nearby hospital.
I fell down under a pew when I went down. And when I got up, someone helped me out. I realized then what had happened, and then it still felt like I was in a dream, that it wasn't true, it couldn't have been true. People running, people crying, people trying to find their children and their loved ones.
It seems everyone in this close-knit rural town has been touched by this tragedy.
I've lost a brother-in-law, a nephew, a great-nephew, a great-niece.
Lost my brother.
Other residents, frightened by warnings of more tornadoes, flooded Piedmont City Hall.
We've been socked all day, and we have the watch until 7:45 in the morning, is my understanding at this moment.
So there's a lot of frightened people out there.
There's a lot of frightened people out there, yes.
To alleviate residents' fears, Piedmont officials opened shelters in the basements of 2 schools.
I haven't had a storm frightened like this in a while, in quite a while.
I guess I came where I would feel like I was saved, I guess.
So we decided just right over here.
What, are you afraid that a tornado might come still yet tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Shaken, dazed, in shock from the murderous tornado that had ripped through their town, the residents of Piedmont nonetheless wasted little time in beginning to rebuild their shattered town.
The small community turned out in force yesterday for the groundbreaking to start work on an all-new Goshen United Methodist Church.
With what the insurance money we received and the donations, we will have a nice church that will be responsive to others as others have responded to us.
But even though a new church was going up, memories of that terrible Palm Sunday lingered.
I thought she was dead when I saw her.
Marcus Woods is 13 years old, and now he's the new man of the house. His father, Buddy, and 9-year-old sister, Amy, were killed.
We did a lot of things together. We'd go fishing. Me, him, and Amy.
His mother, Mary, is also alone, but not without vivid memories of her daughter.
Amy was an angel. She was an angel here on earth. She was always happy, smiling. She was a tomboy.
Patricia Abbott is still playing the organ, as she did when the church collapsed. At 55, she has taken over her husband's duties. Earl Abbott and her 5-year-old grandson were killed in the church.
There are rough times. There are some very rough times. But overall,
I'm fine.
They are taking it one sunrise at a time in Piedmont, Alabama.
Welcome in the name of our risen Lord.
It was a subdued service, considering what happened here. But never was there a more solemn acceptance of the Easter message here today that to live is to suffer, to love the only salvation.
I need y'all. Why would it happen when people were there worshiping God? But I guess we're not supposed to ask why.
A test of faith. But the challenges facing the people of this church are not just spiritual.
I think we always relive the tornado. Every time we're together, we see each other's faces and we're reminded. All the children are still a little bit uneasy when the weather clouds up a little bit, and they still have their moments of uneasiness, and I think all of us are just a little bit more sensitive than we used to be about the weather and just about losing one another.
To keep the memory of that tragic day in 1994 alive, a memorial garden.
That will be a garden where people can go and pray and remember. There'll be some plaques that will have the story of the church. There'll be a listing of the names of all the people who were in the church, not only those who died, but everyone who was in the church. And that seemed a fitting tribute to the church that once stood on that spot and to the lives of those people who that were lost on that day.
Including Reverend Clem's daughter, Hannah. In part to try to erase the memories of the tornado, Kelly Clem took a sabbatical and had a new daughter, Laurel Hope Clem, born almost 2.5 years after Hannah was killed.
We have turned a page, turned a corner maybe, and it felt like a good time for me to turn a corner with my own life as well, and to have a little bit more time for my family, so I'm looking forward to that.
Recovering and rebuilding from killer tornadoes like the one in Alabama takes time. Nowhere was that more evident than in Xenia, Ohio, where because the devastation was so extensive, rebuilding took years. But Xenia did rebuild.
Frames for new houses are rising out of the rubble, even as bulldozers clear away over 1,200 tornado-damaged homes condemned as unsafe.
Outside help was not long in coming. The state legislature passed a $2.5 million aid bill in just 11 days. The Federal Housing and Urban Development Department approved a big urban renewal project to help rebuild downtown. Within a week, the Small Business Administration had set up a disaster aid center to help businesses and homeowners.
The biggest hang-up so far has been finding new homes for people. HUD, which is coordinating this task, estimates some 500 families are still without adequate housing, living with friends, relatives, or in shelters. 1,237 structures have been condemned as unsafe and ordered leveled. Some private contractors have already begun clearing away a few destroyed buildings. This was once 451 Rosebud Lane, a 6-room house which belonged to Carl Archer and his family. Archer drove by for a last look the day the bulldozer brought his house down. Archer, his wife, and 3 teenage children were at home the afternoon the tornado struck. They survived by taking shelter under a heavy sofa and mattresses. The house literally caved in on them.
The tornado changed the Archers' lives.
Well, I think it brought us closer because me and my brother used to fight a lot. Now we have to stay together.
You realize how quickly you can lose everything that you thought was important. But then you find out it really wasn't. Who cared?
A year later, and tornado season again in Xenia. This spring, Xenia has an alert system, something it didn't have when the tornado hit last year. Today, elementary school pupils attend classes in temporary, modular design buildings. Concern for the children's safety has resulted in the start of construction of disaster shelters. But that's still not enough assurance for some parents. If the morning weather reports forecast strong winds, Mrs. Sharon Wiedenheft simply keeps their son and daughter home.
If we're all at home, I'm not really afraid because I feel safe. We have a basement and I feel safe.
Buck's Pharmacy is still in the same shopping center, but customers come to a trailer now. However, memories of last April make this a tense month for everyone.
I know nobody wants to see that funnel in the sky again.
That's just something you don't forget once you see it.
The fear of tornadoes lingered for a long time in Xenia, Ohio.
People still talk about the tornado like it happened yesterday, and there are still people reporting emotional problems they trace back to the storm. There's an increased awareness of the dangers of bad weather, and there still are moments of fear.
We all get anxious when it gets dark and the wind blows and sounds begin to rumble that are a little stranger than normal, and we'll always recall those.
More than 3 years later, Xenia is still rebuilding, and people in the city say there's a lot to be done. There are grown-over lots next to new buildings, and the town lost one of its biggest employers. Even so, there are 1,200 more people in Xenia now than in April '74, and a net gain of 17 businesses.
The rebuilding went on for years.
The struggle to rebuild and put life back together again in Xenia has consumed most of the past 10 years.
Some people thought it took a lot longer than it should, but you just don't put together what had existed for 160 or so years. Don't put it together very rapidly.
But in the Arrowhead subdivision, which lay in ruins 10 years ago, families quickly rebuilt. And today the neighborhood is still home to Sam and Doris Boggs, and the memory of a friend killed in the twister is still painful.
I went through a very bad period of time when I, felt very guilty because I lived and she died, but that was just, you do live and you do learn to cope with these things.
Sea agradable a Dios Padre Todopoderoso.
The road to recovery was a lot steeper in the tiny West Texas town of Zaragoza.
We lost 30 people, which is 10% of our total population. And so it was a lot more drastic effect.
After the tornado obliterated the town, the question was whether anyone would bother to stay, because the rebuilding job was so massive. But stay they did.
This is because of the fact that they're all family. And it was so tight and so close. And, everybody in Zaragoza is related. Everybody is a cousin or brother or uncle or something. And so family will come back together. They've made up their mind that this is home, this is where they're going to be.
Helping them to make up their minds was FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. FEMA wasted no time moving in to help, even in a town as small as Zaragoza.
They set up a trailer park over where our mission used to be, and they put in mobile homes there for the people to live in while they were building here. But it took about 2 years, really, to get it built back up to where people were living here again.
The Roman Catholic Church helped rebuild Our Lady of Guadalupe, and it was the Baptist Church that helped some homeowners rebuild. But it was the federal government that built a new civic center and a new Head Start center.
One of the good things that came out of the tornado, I think, is we got a new multi-purpose center with a tornado shelter below it that stays open 24 hours a day. Nobody needs to come and unlock it.
We have a siren now here at the center that it'll blow, it'll warn people.
And the federal government helped many people rebuild their homes.
Part of the FEMA money and part of my money that I had, and then we built, myself and my family helped me rebuild the house back.
Jose Candelas got a loan from the Catholic Church to rebuild his store, while the Baptist Church pitched in to help rebuild his house. But no matter how many new buildings were erected, the memories of that awful night still lingered.
This is what's left of the building, the church building where we had the Head Start graduation. Here's some pieces of the rubble, the wall, pieces of wall that were left. The girls and I ended up over there by that wheat, where I guess that piece of, where that sign of the wall is. We were right there facing the highway. Just kind of brings back memories of what happened. And just looking at those pieces of wall, just makes us wonder how we all, those of us that survived, how we came out of it.
Wonder, too, how they can survive the next one. New tornado shelters and a better tornado warning system means Zaragoza is more prepared for the next tornado. And with each new tornado, weathermen learn just a little bit more about the deadly storms, but they admit they still have a long way to go.
We probably know more about tornadoes than we did a few years ago, but more than that, we probably know the depths of our ignorance better now.
But as we said, with each passing year, scientists keep learning more and more about nature's monsters. And the more they learn, the less dangerous tornadoes become.
It's fascination, not fear, that drives people like Martin Licious to actually chase after the storm.
So you think the storm is over this way?
Yeah, it's up to our northwest. They probably just issued a tornado warning for the county.
It's moving east 20 to 25 knots.
Licious is among a cult of thrill seekers who crisscross country roads with cameras tracking tornadoes.
There's something causing that round shape. It is definitely rotating. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning on it, producing up to a golf ball or baseball-sized hail. It's moving due east at 20 to 25 knots.
Most storm chasers, though, are scientists who want to find out more about the deadly storms. They use what is called Doppler radar, mounted on trucks or minivans, to look inside tornadoes. Unlike conventional radar, Doppler radar can detect air movement, the rotating winds that are parents to all intense tornadoes.
And the mobile radar allows us to essentially go out and take the radar to the tornado and look at it and really see what the winds are doing inside of it.
Scientists have discovered that tornadoes are caused by anvil-shaped storm clouds, called supercells, that contain violent wind shears.
What we've learned is the detailed internal structure of the storms. This is knowledge we've never had, and it's showing that many of the theories we had before really need some modification to stand up to the data we're collecting.
For example, scientists believed that rain and lightning were the triggers for all tornadoes. Now, though, they've discovered that tornadoes often develop in parts of a storm that are free of rain and lightning. And they've also discovered intense wind shears inside thunderstorms, violent upward and downward drafts of air that precipitate tornadoes. And that kind of information has made it easier for meteorologists to issue tornado warnings earlier.
The Doppler radar has allowed us to take our average lead time up well above 15 minutes on warnings.
Because tornadoes develop so suddenly and can be so deadly, every minute of advance warning counts.
Before the Doppler radars, our typical warnings had something like a minute, so we've improved by 14 minutes. And you know, when your life is in jeopardy, every minute means a lot.
This is a big one.
Remarkably, with Doppler alerts, there were no deaths last June when this raging tornado pounded Pampa, Texas, lifting pickup trucks 100 yards off the ground. Such awesome rotating bundles of kinetic energy were spawned by a powerful summer storm called a supercell and captured on video by Chuck Doswell.
That's the sort of storm that I would call the experience of a lifetime. I remember when I was done filming and the tornado was over, that I discovered that my mouth was very dry. And either I'd been standing there with my mouth open for 20 minutes, or the adrenaline had just simply dried me out. I don't know which.
While using Doppler radar to X-ray wind speed and direction inside a funnel cloud, forecasters are testing new systems that'll launch tornado warnings several precious minutes sooner, imposing radar, map, and satellite storm images on a single TV screen.
Called AWIPS for short, the new Advanced Weather Interactive Processing System collects all available weather information in one place, thus allowing more accurate predictions of oncoming tornadoes.
For the forecaster to be able to see this on one screen helps that person visualize what's going on in the atmosphere. And if the forecaster has a good picture of what's going on in the atmosphere, they are liable to make better forecasts.
New knowledge has enabled scientists to pinpoint the safest places to go during a tornado. For example, they've discovered that most tornadoes come from the southwest, and that walls facing the tornado are the first to go.
You know, if you're at your house, go into a cellar. If you don't have a cellar, go into an internal room. An internal bathroom is excellent. Protect your head and just sit there and wait.
Two things that people should remember: the smaller the room, the better, and the more walls between you and the tornado, the better. People have to be prepared. They can't rely totally on technology and Doppler radar to save them. There's no substitute for good old-fashioned common sense.
The one thing you do not want to do is to try to run away from it. People who are killed in automobiles trying to get away from tornadoes, the number of tornado deaths that are caused by that is really, really shocking.
Because they are so unpredictable, no one in the path of a tornado can be absolutely safe.
Tornadoes skip. They can stay on the ground for a mile and then they can lift up into the ground and pass completely over entire neighborhoods, leaving them unscathed. There's nothing we can do to stop a tornado, to destroy a tornado. We really are, despite all the technology, we really are at the mercy of Mother Nature here. And it just boils down to sheer luck.
In central Oklahoma, which is the heart of Tornado Alley, you can sit here for 400 to 500 years in one place and not get hit by a tornado, but the likelihood still is there.
And despite all the increased knowledge, the scientists still have a long way to go.
Right now, I really don't see the technology to actually track the tornado and say where it's going to hit.
That's why tornadoes can be so deadly to towns like Saragossa, Texas.
We found a man dead with his wife laying right behind him. They were laying on their sides, like you'd find them sleeping in bed.
And despite all the rebuilding and all the determination to carry on, Saragossa will never be the same.
When the tornado hit Saragossa, it's like they lost the heart of Saragossa. And it's kind of like a cut, especially a deep cut. It heals, but it always leaves a scar.
When I think about Saragossa, I think about the old Saragossa, the old houses, the old buildings, you know, the vehicles people used to drive. Now it's just like a new little town, you know. You know, we get new post office, new Head Start Center, new store, new houses, new church, everything. Everything's just rebuilt. It's not the same old Saragossa that I grew up in.
Of course, there's the cemetery with all the graves of those that were buried here, and that's a reminder, but the town is going on.
Saragossa erected a memorial outside the new Civic Center so that no one would forget what happened here in 1987.
Kind of makes me feel proud in a way. A lot of individuals go through life. People remember them, people forget them. Those individuals, along with my wife and my son's name, for whatever reason, will never be forgotten. People will always remember the loved ones that they lost and always cherish their memories. I had no other children, and I've never remarried, so sometimes when I have trouble sleeping, I'll drive out here, kind of look at the memorial, and by the time I come out here, look at it for a while and go back, it usually soothes me to the point where I can go back to sleep.
Tornadoes are nature's most awesome spectacle. Dropping capriciously out of the sky, tornadoes can kill more people and cause more property damage than any other kind of storm, including hurricanes. And despite all that scientists have learned about tornadoes, they are still years away from accurately predicting when and where they will strike. A reminder of how very little we know about the awesome power of nature. I'm Mike Wallace, and this is the 20th Century.